waking up every day. If I say what I want to say, then there's these negative comments and you're losing followers. It's just this constant signal that you're receiving that you're being disapproved by the world, disapproved by these people, those people. And so, being in a constant state of disapproval starts to really wear on your psyche. And you wake up and you're like, man, oh, everybody hates me today.
Today we have a really great guest. This should be a lot of fun. We have Luke Pell, former West Point grad, country music star, and then eventual reality star on The Bachelorette, whose life got very disrupted along the way, and things were going in a great trajectory, and then all of a sudden they were not. Thank you, Luke. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, David. Glad to be here.
So for those of us who live under a rock, tell us what The Bachelorette, I've seen it, but for others who have not, what's the format of the show? How does it work? And how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so for those that don't know, which they probably do, The Bachelorette or the Bachelor franchise, the format is licensed in like 36 countries. It's been in the US on air for like 25 years. ABC carries it. And, I was aware of the show as, a kid in high school, and, knew about it and those type of things. And then, fast forward to the window in time in my life in which somebody submitted my name for it. And I was single at the time, and they're like, oh, it was actually the lady that she was my hairstylist, or my hair salon owner. She was like, oh, you should date this girl, date that girl. She was always trying to, play Cupid. And then finally she was like, I'll just put you on The Bachelor. And so she submitted a file. A year later, the producers called and set up a meeting. And then, before you know it, I was on a flight to LA to join the reality TV world, as naive as I was just going into it. And, so I jumped in the deep end, and so we started filming, and it's about a 12-week filming process. And so that was my introduction into, reality TV and a little, toe in the water as far as just what goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood and what it's like to, rise to 15 minutes of fame, and albeit in a format that, which I would learn later, leaves you very vulnerable to criticism from all the viewers.
Layla, we talk on the show a lot about how your online reputation can be used against you, but what if you could take back control?
Guess what?
What?
Erase.com does exactly that.
Are you kidding me?
They're an online reputation management company that is fantastic. They allow you to take back the power and not let the digital world decide what is said about you.
You bring up a good point. Don't let your online past define your future. These folks, they should call the experts at erase.com because they can help.
Like they helped us?
They sure did.
And because you listen to Erase, if you just type in the promo code ERASED10, you will receive 10% off these amazing services that help you take back your power.
That's a great deal. Reference promo code ERASE10, you can get a 10% discount off their services.
I like it.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Because they live vicariously through these folks that are off the street, casted, just quote unquote normal people, everyday people that are single and casted to go on these shows, and then they have this sense of reality and relational expectations and social schemas of what is expected. And then the producers have their job to create a dramatic television show that gets great ratings and keeps people coming back. And so if that is at the cost of your reputation or those type of things, you waive all of your rights for what your reputation would look like, or your image might look like at the end of these filming and airing shows. So it was.
So what year was this? What year are we talking about?
So this was 2016 when I did the first reality show, and we filmed from March through May in 2016, and then it aired that summer. So
what's the format? How does it work?
Yeah, so the format is there will be for the Bachelorette, it's one woman and usually 25 to 30 guys that come there. They start filming and then she narrows it down to one who then usually ends up in a proposal for marriage after the 12-week filming process. And then they do the other way as well, where there's a bachelor and 25 or 30 women come on and do the same thing. So then they have an island spin-off show where it's basically musical chairs of people where there's 10 guys and 10 girls, or 9 guys and 10 girls, and somebody's left out, and so they whittle that down. It's another spin-off concept they have. But yeah, I would say I would use a word of caution for anybody who wants to put their love life, their personal life into the public world and susceptible for all that criticism.
But you were open to love, I suppose.
Absolutely open to love. Yeah, aren't we all? Just desperate 28-year-old guys like, oh, maybe this will work. Let me just go on a TV show and see if I can find somebody that I can be married to. So, what a
So
thought.
what were you doing at the time?
Yeah, at the time, I had been working for a business consulting firm in College Station, Texas. And yeah, we consulted. I was doing sales. We did consulting programs and behavioral leadership programs for Fortune 500 companies. And I was, had been in the corporate world, exited the military a few years prior to that. And so I was just really, after my time in the military, I was, really just, I guess, experiencing what it was like to just be free from the restrictions of the military deployments and all those things. And I was just living life and taking any opportunity to experience life and try new things. And I definitely got a full dose of new things in reality TV.
So I imagine you were not unsuccessful in the more conventional dating world, but you decided, hey, and somebody threw your hat in the ring. How many candidates were
Right.
there for how many positions are there? How many potential other contestants are
Tutors,
there?
yeah, yeah. So I think there was like 28 on my season, and there was one girl and 28 guys, and then you go through the first night, and she meets everyone for I don't know, a 3-minute conversation, something like that, and then within that first night, I think they probably cut almost half of those out, and then they continue on, and then over the next couple of weeks, everyone gets a date with the Bachelorette and get to spend more quality time with them, try to get to know them a little bit, and but as you could imagine, I tell people, they're always asking me, what's it like, and if I was to give the shortest, succinct version of it, I tell people it's like Hunger Games, but nobody dies. So, which it really is. The production side of it is built to get an outcome, and if you watch, multiple seasons, you'll kind of start seeing the threads and the themes that they work with that begin to replicate. They work with the audience, and they'll do it, year after year with just different characters that they cast. So, yeah. So, luckily, my experience, I was kind of the I don't know what you would call it, kind of the Cinderella story. I wasn't the front runner, but I was kind of I came in fourth. If you now you have to place, there's a hierarchy here, and so when it comes down to the end of it, I was fourth from last of getting eliminated from the show. But yeah, I had a great, what they call, an edit, and so everything was positive. I was obviously, my military background was highlighted, and I was the quintessential small town kid from Texas, and they highlighted all that portion of my background, and they build a character and for everyone. And so I was riding high when it came off of that show, because they were so favorable with the edit of who I was, and felt like I was like larger than life character watching it back. And then it's funny, I did a spin-off show a couple years later and albeit it was great time. It was fun. It was actually more entertaining and more engaging than what I did at the Bachelorette. It's called Bachelor Winter Games, where they brought international candidates in to come, and people are. It's kind of a parody on Winter Olympic sports, and then they weave in the love angles, love triangle angles, and those type of things as well. And so it was actually entertaining. So I don't know, you guys can probably find it on YouTube. It's somewhere out there. But they take a bunch of people who are not actual athletes; they're just Bachelor candidates from previous Bachelor shows, and mix them all together. And there was, I think there was 11 or 12 countries there. So there was folks from Asia, Australia, all these different continents that were represented there. Germany, Russia. I mean, or Belarus. It was really crazy experience. A lot of language barriers, and then people, trying to also actually, date and put themselves out there on the show. So and not athletic at all, but they filmed every part of that. I was figure skating, which
Can you
people can
skate?
find that on YouTube. Yeah, I got coached by Nancy Kerrigan actually for
Nice.
a couple of days.
Right.
My second time on ice skates in my life, and they tried to make a little routine out of it and
How'd
the
you do?
competition. So it was fun, but
You did well. You didn't wipe out.
no, I definitely did wipe out. Yeah, no, I was, looking at stitches on my chin by the end of it.
Nice. I was always curious how they select
Yeah,
these bachelors and bachelorettes, and I know we'll talk about your opportunity. Eventually,
sure.
you were potentially going to be a bachelor. How do they find these people? I mean, are they esteemed human beings, like in every which way, and all the bachelors fall in love with this woman? Like, what if there's no chemistry there? How does that even work?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the production piece of it, right? And we can all do a reality check to looking through the lens of what it's like in the real world, if you will, and realizing that how fragile relationships are and how much the chemistry matters and if it was actually a workout and so we've all got dating experience and however you found your spouse and that was not just for most people, not just the first one that you ever met, first person you ever dated. It didn't always just work out like that. Everybody has things that work, things that don't. And so going on the show, they usually, after they built some character or built the characters out, they're kind of their profile out from doing an original show. Maybe for me, I was one of 30 guys, and then I was the top four. So I got a lot of screen time throughout that Bachelorette filming. And so, and like I said, a favorable edit. So then when they go to roll over to the next season, which is when they switch back to, it'd be a Bachelor and 30 women, they'll usually, they would try to pick a cast member that had some credibility with the audience and had screen time from previous shows, so that the audience is not having to connect with that lead cast member just cold turkey. They've got something to go off of, some anticipation of knowing them from past season, a past season, that type of thing. And so you go through a few months and they try to recast. And so I was part of that process of getting recasted to go be the Bachelor, which would have filmed in that fall following the Bachelorette that I was on. And so there was a couple other folks that as well had some previous shows that they were on and they were cast. And I at the last minute ended up not being casted to be on there. But I think definitely everything happens for a reason, and I'm actually thankful that did not end up happening because
Why? Why?
I think as I look back at it, I was open at the time, but as I look back at it, my personal life, I'm a man of faith, and it's just it's so fabricated. You're crossing the lines of fabricating your personal life for the sake of TV ratings, right? And you're just leaving yourself vulnerable to that. And so when you're trying to make those decisions, and be thoughtful and prayerful and self-reflective about who you're with and the plans that you're making to spend your life with somebody, when you're doing it in front of TV cameras with producers that are running narratives that they, need to get, and interviewing you. And then it's not a moment where you can grow a relationship truly and know, the person that you're dating in that environment. So, I think there's been a lot of, and history shows that even through that format, there was a lot of failed relationships. There was a few that serendipitously made it through, and God bless those folks that actually met somebody on that show and they were able to stay with them and have a long lasting marriage and a relationship. There's a guy that everyone remembers. His name is Sean Lowe. Him and his wife Catherine met on that TV show. He lives here in Dallas, and they've got like 4 kids now, and they're just have a beautiful family, and they've been going for several years. And so, there's about 1 out of 10 or something like that of those relationships from the TV show that will eventually, make it in the real world. And so, it's just you got to be careful with it and be thoughtful about it. So
there's a lot of fabrication going on, and you referenced that you saw yourself on screen and you're larger than life, and it's like,
yeah,
what's that? That's got to be a strange feeling. Like, you're like, what does that feel like to see yourself, but like, wow, that's like a uber me. That's like,
no, yeah, David, and it's funny. I've experienced the highs and the lows of it, both sides of it. So I came off that first experience, and I had that very favorable edit I was telling you about. And you're like, man, I mean, it's really flattering, right? You're like, man, this is crazy. Like, I feel like I'm a movie star, for a quick moment, and you're seeing yourself on screen. You're like, this is wild. And then, you're getting all, now they, about halfway through this show, the full running of it, say it's 25 years been airing, 2012 somewhere, social media came on 2012, 2014. But right before I came on, social media became another factor. And so previously to that, it was like, what are the tabloids at the grocery store, or maybe e-news or some outlet like that would be the limited way that the audience could connect with these people outside of those episodes that aired for the show. And so then social media became another outlet in a way that they could directly connect with these cast members and follow them after they filmed on the show. And so I was in the middle of that kind of social media boom, where Instagram followers and all those things. So you're getting real time interaction from fans of the show straight to your social media, straight to your phone. And so I was sitting there with these shows airing, and I'm getting 6 figures of followers on my Instagram, like after each episode. I'm like 100,000, another 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. And it's just going up, and you've got people DMing you, some for business inquiries and to do appearances, and they start trying to monetize you as a celebrity. And then you've got people that actually are delusional enough, or whatever it is, to reach out to you, and they think they can date you, and so your DMs just get full with all of these propositions of like, just everybody just is following the hype, and they want to be a part of something that's famous, something that that fame that they're chasing, and they want to be around it. And so I experienced that side of it as well, and which I think really is probably the toughest part. It starts to cloud your judgment. Your self-awareness starts to grow and evolve in different ways, and so it's a challenge, I think, for people that have to everybody's coming from a different place, a different point in life. And I'm in college, I majored in sociology, and obviously from West Point, my time in the military, I had a lot of leadership training. And even at that consulting firm I worked with for business consulting, we talked about self-awareness and behavioral profiles, like you might see a Myers-Briggs or a Strength Finder behavioral profile, if you've seen that. And so I went into the show with a pretty good foundation of self-awareness and a sociological perspective on looking at what the implications of this could be on a person's mind, their lifestyle, all those things. And even still, I found myself getting wrapped up in the hype and wrapped up in the attention and the flattery of it all. And once you've experienced that full cycle, I would say, and years later, years past, where I declined to keep going back into that world and doing more shows, and the fame starts to fade, the new faces come in, and it's a revolving door of new celebrities in that reality world. And so I began to see the quality of the relationships that were getting built during that time. It's just they're like sharks in the water. Just people are coming to you. They want to be your manager, your booker, your booking agent. They want to, even the personal relationship. People wanted to date you, but not. You're like, who wants to actually date who I am and get to know me as a person, have a quality relationship? No, they just want to. They want to be close to the fame for a little bit, the potential of being more famous or the hype or whatever, and they're not genuinely authentically looking to have a relationship with you, business or personal. And 99% of the time, there's a few out there that you obviously would meet because of that, but having to learn how to filter through that and be discerning in the relationships and the people that you get close in your circle was probably one of the biggest challenges and things that I kind of had to learn the hard way.
So there's like a tape delay in a way. I mean, they shoot the episode, and then it's I guess weeks or months later before the episodes actually are seen by the public.
Yeah, it's about a month on the post edit turnaround before the first episode comes out, and then of course it airs for what 2 months or so. It airs every week for about I guess there's about 12 episodes that air. Maybe
So when the first episode is coming out, you're still shooting though. It hasn't wrapped.
No. Right at the first episode comes out, and you've just finished shooting like maybe a couple week turnaround from the last episode, and then the first episode is then out.
Oh, so only a couple week lag, basically.
Yeah, from the last filming episode to the first airing episode. So then you've got another 12-week run of the airing of the shows, and you're already complete with filming throughout that. So
and your I guess your Instagram is blowing up basically.
Well, it does. During that time. Every time it airs, every time there's a TV spot, of course they do their own publicity for the show and those type of things. And so if you're on a TV spot, or they'll run an ad, or all those different things, or even they'll run traditional print, and obviously I walk in and see my face in the grocery store at Kroger, just to see my face on the tabloid, they're like, oh, is Luke going to be the new Bachelor? And I'm like, man, this is wild. I'm in a grocery store. So it's just the peak of that, just that quick rise. And then of course it turns over relatively quickly, so
you're a man of faith, and as I know, and your social media is telling you how awesome you are, and do you ever have moments like, I like myself, but I didn't realize I was that good, and like, wow, I guess I'm really, really extraordinary. Yeah. Do you have that conflict, that dilemma, that struggle?
Yeah, David. It's an incredible feeling, especially from a sociological background. You feel this sense of it's just surreal, for a moment. And you're like, man, this is what it's like to be famous. You can feel that, And so people that are, these folks in real Hollywood, I would say, that have, they were on Friends, or they were just some generational character, a Jennifer Aniston, or these type of people that generationally they're just going to be famous. When you're in reality, it's like this quick splash in the pan for reality TV, where you're like really famous for a little bit, and famous people might know who you are on a late night talk show or whatever, and then that moment kind of passes too. And so then for me in the Bachelor world, I went back into that spinoff I was telling you about, and for whatever reason, I caught like they took an opportunistic time to catch me in a bad edit. The last 30 seconds of the entire season on a reunion show, even after it all aired, there was a reunion show, and the producers caught a 30-second period of time where they were like, well, we need to spice this up and make this seem like there was, they'll take a pop culture trendy word. So there's the word ghosting was really popular at the time. And so they made it seem like I ghosted a girl that I had talked to for the 2 week filming period for that show that we had done. She was from Stockholm, Sweden, great girl, but we had very clearly talked about, hey, like, I've only known you for 2 weeks at this TV show. You live in Stockholm, I'm in Tennessee, and like, this is not, we're not going to pursue this in the real world, you know. And then 6 weeks later, they do the reunion show, and they make this very emotional deal, and it's like I ghosted her, never called her
Oh,
again, like really led her on. And so then, like I was telling you, I saw the volatility of it. It's like my Instagram followers, you know, were up, 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 and then as that show aired, immediately within the next day, I lost like 100,000 followers, and people were like sending hate mail to my
you're a
mom,
villain.
like, oh, I'm a villain. I mean, in 30 seconds of an edit. And I didn't even do anything. They just caught me like in a commercial break, like kind of just staring off in the distance in this TV
Oh,
studio. And they used that edit as like, they used it as like the girl was like talking to me and very emotional, and then they cut to me while I was kind of staring. It looked like I was just staring while she was just like I was ignoring her, is what it looked like they edited me to do.
they
And I was like,
manufactured
oh,
that.
oh yeah, they manufactured it completely. I was like, man, this is unbelievable that they made it this blatant or whatever.
Oh, I'm
And just
Luke Pell. You can't do this to Luke Pell.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was wild. So, but I got the full spectrum of feeling the highs and the lows of reality TV, you know. And so that was really to get back to, you know, your main theme of the cancellation piece of that. That was one of those big, you know, or at least the initial time which I was ever canceled was during that period, and that spinoff show. And I was like, wow, this can turn upside down on you very quickly, and you really don't have control of, you know, you can be a great person and do the best that you can, control your image and be positive, but they can still find a way to, you know, edit you because you paid all those rights. You're just the cog in the wheel of reality TV. So
So you saw that 30-second clip at the same time all of America saw it as
oh
well.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It was incredible. Yeah, it
Were
was
you
incredible.
alone?
The
Like,
setup, even from the filming of it, I was the last one to come out. Like, they had a sound stage set up, and, you know, all the cast members are sitting there. They kind of interviewed a few of them and then follow ups and say, well, who's you know, let's catch up with these folks since we finished filming. Where are they at now, kind of thing. They waited to the very end because they kind of had this all prepped, and they brought me out after they had shown and asked the girl, sweet girl, again. And it's like, we knew each other for 2 weeks of this show, but it seemed like, you know, there was this big legitimate, you know, relationship, and they got her to be emotional because they had seen that she would be easily emotional. And so then I walk out, and I'm like walking out to booze to the live audience that's like and I'm like, what?
what's going
I
on?
did not see it coming. I was like, I'm getting booed by a live audience, and I don't know why.
Did you see the clip at least? Had the benefit of seeing the
No,
clip? You
I
hadn't even
saw
seen the
nothing.
clip.
They showed a clip to the live audience, and had, you know, and the guy, you know, Chris Harrison, which everybody knows was famous for the show for a long time, that's the host. He had interviewed and asked that the girl, it asked her, you know, a couple of questions, and she started kind of getting emotional and said, I haven't heard from him since then. I thought we were going to be like a big thing. And so then I walk out from behind the curtain, and the crowd just like, they were just had them so teed up, ready to just boo me. So
You
it was incredible.
roadkill.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was wild. But anyway, good times.
So, that was the beginning of your cancellation journey, in
Yeah,
effect. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And
From
then yeah, and then
from
much later on, you know, now I've got the social media following, even leaving that, lost followers for that one event. But then as I spoke to politics, or truly, you know, I went through an evolution again, back to this kind of self awareness and learning myself and understanding that, you know, my window to the world, and if I in my voice to the world is through my social media channels after that experience. And so, you know, whatever, a few 100,000, 500,000 people, whatever, that watch what I do in my life. And then for that time, there was a time in there where I felt the pressure to post things and curate those feeds to what the audience would like, right? And
before this incident or after?
no, after
You were trying
when
to
I
repair, or
well, repair, and then just a sense of like, it's built so that you're getting approval or lack of for what you post, right? And so your post, then my post became like, well, I don't want to post anything too controversial because if I do, then I might get canceled again or I might get more negative feedback. And so you start thinking about, well, let me post, something a little bit more vanilla or more politically correct or not too polarizing so that we'll get a lot of likes. It'll be a very nice post, but it won't hurt me to if I want to monetize these followers and do some type of ads or whatever. And so I went through that phase and I started feeling really, just discontent with myself. I said, I don't feel comfortable to post myself, like post who I really am. Even at my best, I feel like I have to filter it to get accepted by, these 400,000 or 500,000 people that are watching my stuff. And so I really, that was one of the biggest things that now I look back and I'm glad that I was able to see that and come through it because I think a lot of people get tied up in that. And even the, Hollywood, I can see where their entire careers are about being curated to what the audience wants, what the manager wants, whatever their network wants to be put out there as a message. And so I got to understand that firsthand and really get back in touch with the reality of being myself and being authentic to what I post, regardless of if I lose 100,000 followers. I'm like, well, I don't. It's truly my voice, and I'm going to use it to the best of my ability for positive things in the world to make an impact. And if portion of that audience doesn't want to follow me because of it, or they have negative comments, that's fine. I don't care. And so I finally, got through that portion, and so got on the other side of it.
How long was that period to
Yeah,
work through that process?
I think it was a couple of years because I was monetizing, and like I said, like people start calling, the phone rings, and they're like, oh, come do this appearance or throw out the first pitch over here, or they're like, doing these things for your presence, and so you're like, well, if I need to, the more followers I have, the more valuable I am for these different opportunities, and so when I finally separated from the monetization of that in terms of just being the Bachelor guy and saying, well, I am who I am, and so I think really kind of during COVID, I think, there was where the whole country was getting polarized, the whole world's getting polarized on vaccines and masking and what your habits were and all these things. And so you're getting negative DMs about not wearing a mask or you're traveling or what you're doing on your social media. And so that was a very volatile time of seeing it. And coming out of that, I had kind of given up on the monetization of social media and said, I'm going to be who I am. I'm not going to, depend on this as an income stream anymore. If there's a brand, if there's a social media audience that's aligned with who I am, then great. But if I have to recycle all of these, TV fans that are just fictitious fans anyway, that see me as a reality TV character in the light that they, edited me, then that's fine. I'll have to turn all those fans over and just move on with my life and worry about a family and a real legacy and my nonprofits that I really have a passion for to make real impact and change lives. And I learned there's so much more than just appeasing an audience on social media.
So during that 2-year period, must have been sounds like it was a very confusing time.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? Who am I? What am I doing here? How did I get here? What's my mission and purpose?
Sure.
Trying to find your grounding. Did it get dark? How bad did it get? What were your lowest moments, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, I think just some of my lowest moments where, I had gotten wrapped up in it, and I'm a person that I'm competitive. I want to be really good at what I do. I'm also, for those that are familiar, I'm an Enneagram 3. So I want to.
Oh, I know Enneagrams, sure.
Yeah, so
I think I'm a 9, if I remember
An
correctly.
Enneagram 3, you have this propensity to be a chameleon, to you want to be liked, you want your reputation to be clean, and you're aware of that and what others think of you. So I think it's even more difficult in that world to separate yourself from wanting to be liked by your social media followers. But when you dig back into the roots of it, I was depressed. I was in depression. I was like, I mean, waking up every day and I can't. If I say what I want to say, then there's these negative comments and just you're losing followers. It's just this constant signal that you're receiving that you're being disapproved by the world, disapproved by these people, those people. And so, being in a constant state of disapproval starts to really wear on your psyche. And you wake up and you're like, man, oh, everybody hates me today, And so if you're not able to separate your personal value from what trolls online or just random people all over the world that don't really know you, but they have the access to comment and get inside your head or message you or go on blogs and all these things, it's like it's like I feel one of the darkest places anybody could ever go for their self-worth is if it's not, lock solid, is to go into Reddit. You go into some Reddit threads and just look yourself up, golly, I mean, that's the quickest way to just, go in a very dark hole
So
is
this
is it's just absolute, just a world of just trolls and just criticism and just gossip and just allegations and everything's negative and just piling on. It's wild.
to this day, is there any particular post in Reddit or otherwise that still resonates with you and reverberates in your?
uh, I think just some of the like they were naming the threads like with versions of my name, like Luke from Hell or something like that, and like they're just it's just insane what they were coming up with, and it was just absolutely just it was just at the time I was like, oh, I don't want to see this, and I know that I shouldn't like let it affect me, but it's hard not to. Once you read those things, you're just like, I have to just put this down and never come back to this again because I don't know these people. It doesn't have anything to do with my value, but it is digging into me in a dark way. So,
When you woke up in the morning, would you pick up your phone and like check it out and see what's going on?
oh yeah, there was definitely a period of time, yeah, where I was like, you're like, it's new, it's fresh, and you're kind of wanting to. You're like, what are they saying now? And so until that realization moment that you're like, man, the world will come at you. The world will never champion you. There will always be critics, and you gotta find a place deep inside and with your faith that says, hey, this is not me. I'm the only one, between me and God that knows my story and knows my truth, and I've got to move forward.
Mhm. I don't know if you're aware, the reason why we even had the show in the first place, because my wife and I, who's sick, and so I'm flying solo today,
Yeah,
we have a school, Center Academy, and we had some very outspoken opinions about social distancing and masking and vaccinations and all that, and it became a whole global media thing. And among other things, our phones were blowing up at the school so much, people calling with saying nasty, nasty stuff that the poor receptionist who was answering the phone, we had to rotate them out because they just couldn't handle me
yeah.
answering the phones. It was just
Wow.
pretty horrible. People become the worst versions of themselves when they're anonymous online.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. They're emboldened with just so much, just those keyboard warriors. They'll absolutely go to war on a keyboard, things that they wouldn't, and most of those people would never say to your face, would never have, the guts to say that. But they'll say it behind the keyboard when they got anonymity.
There's a classic New York Magazine cartoon that has a picture of a dog in front of a computer, and it says on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog.
Yeah, that's very true. That's,
And and I have family members who actually think it's fun sport to troll
right,
because
right.
because they can't be identified. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, it's not right. It doesn't feel right. Don't do
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah.
So where
Yeah.
were all your friends and family in all this? Did you feel alone? I mean, that's been kind of a recurring theme of all of our guests. You feel sort of alone in all of this.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. Especially after that first punch, I think it was just, and I was in Nashville during that time. So I had also, been dipping my toe into creating music and,
I've listened to some of your music. Very
oh,
talented, really nice.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
radio. Yeah, nice, good stuff. Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
That was a fun time. Truly something that, from
Baritone,
a
right? Baritone.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
from a kid, this is something that was a passion of mine, and I didn't never know if I would have the route in life to be able to even experience it. And I was given that opportunity in Nashville for a number of years, and just
Because of
like
the show, you
no, it
think?
was like I had the opportunity before the show
Okay.
with a publishing company and a guy that was also originally from Texas, and he was a successful songwriter, had number one songs on the radio, and he kind of brought me in under his wing and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing, and I think you're talented. Let's write some songs and do those things." So that's that industry in and of itself. It's also similar to the film industry in terms of the same PR, the marketing, all the same platforms, all those things. But again, it was also very difficult and it's very volatile in terms of being successful. And so the stars have to align in terms of talent, timing, the team, all those things that are around you, how you're marketed, and so and at the end of the day, the songs have to be the best songs at the top of the heap of
Yeah,
Nashville.
gotta be good.
Um, and so that was something that I was going through, and so I was doing that, considering doing that as a career and those type of things. Then the TV thing happened, and so I was kind of doubled down into the entertainment world in two different ways: the reality TV and the music deal. They were somewhat, which I didn't know at the time, they would be very conflicting because of the nature of the dating show. It kind of devalidated me with a lot of country music fans, which I found out later from, I played over 100 shows a year for a few years and toured around the country at different venues. And I found out that, like, oh, well, they would try to take the shortcut of marketing me as the venue to, like, hey, there's the TV guy, right? And then your normal country music fan that's just a guy that is a mechanic in Kansas or whatever. Those guys were alienated from. They're like, oh, there's this guy at Bachelorette. I'm not listening to his stuff. What kind of pansy man, reality man is this? And so that it's funny, just this, kind of the schema of what people expected in the country music world. So I found that out along the way. I was like, oh wow, this is I got all these Bachelorette fans that follow me around the country and go buy tickets to these music shows, but I'm not really getting the typical country music fan. And so those two things conflicted later on. But then when I take this big hit of that first cancellation after that spinoff TV show, I'm working with music managers, music booking agencies, and all these things. And they're calling me because now they're concerned, right? We've got to put I have a publicist on the music side of things. Now she's got to put together some type of piece to revive the publicity of this, and they feel the pressure of saying, well, you're losing 100,000 followers. That's important in the music business, overnight. We've got to fix this. And so I think that moment is when I really felt, I was like, oh man, this ship can sink really quickly, and can turn around very quickly, especially when I'm dependent upon the entertainment industry as a whole to try to navigate that and that be a career. So that was one big piece of it. But through it all, David, I think when I came to the other side of it is when, COVID, it really silenced all live shows for music during that time. My last show I played in public was in Malibu, California in February of 2020. And then COVID happened a month later. and then the whole music industry shut down for live music and concerts, of course, all of 2020, most of 2021. And so during that time, I had been working on some other stuff. I knew that was kind of, I needed to pivot. And so I got into commercial real estate, and I opened up a moving company franchise, just a couple other business ventures that would then parlay me out of dependency upon the entertainment world, because I had seen what it could do, how volatile it was, and just how kind of soul sucking it could be to always be trying to post and appease those audiences, you know? And so once I separated my career back again into commercial real estate, away from, it didn't matter how many followers I had, it didn't matter if I was getting booked for a music show or anything like that. I was like, I'm living my life, I'm moving on back into the entrepreneur world. Then I felt alive again. I had a new network and, you know, of colleagues and business partners and those type of things, and I had a new direction in life and in my career, to get away from that dependency of social media.
So earlier we were talking about how you kind of have to sell your soul in a way to be in reality TV, but the same holds true for music and
Sure.
you know, non-reality and TV and movies and so on.
Right.
Do you see anybody who's been able to navigate it in a way where they don't lose their soul? Is that even possible these days?
You know, I think it is. For one big piece of it was that I got that following and got that 15 minutes of fame from the Bachelor TV franchise, and so all followings are not the same. If somebody has organically built, let's say, Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, or you know,
He's been on the show, by the way.
Oh, amazing. Love
Yeah,
Charlie.
love Charlie.
Known him for several years. Always support what he's doing. I think it's a generational catalyst that is going to prove dividends well into the next couple of decades of what he's doing. He's playing the long game, and I think that's an amazing thing for the conservative world. But so he's built that following that's all conservatives from day one. That's been the brand, that's been his brand, and so everything's aligned, and there's not a conflict there with what his followers see and what they post, right? It's in alignment. And so obviously he gets into the controversial world when he goes outside of his, you know, his subscribers, his followers, all those things, and he goes outside of that, and they get in conflict with you know, on the other side of the aisle from a political standpoint. Yes, there's controversy there, but he still has his core followers, and there's not conflict of interest there of what he's posting with those followers.
Well, his
And
cancellation journey was a little different because he got massively throttled down by Twitter to like nothingness.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah,
Yeah. So he had
the
the followers,
silent,
but they couldn't hear his voice because he didn't have a voice.
the algorithms. Yeah, that's a whole nother level of cancellation, and where it's in this, you know, this incognito mode of algorithms, and the old ownership of Twitter and how that was. And then, I mean, even still, there is, you know, kind of shadow banning that's on Instagram, and I started experiencing that when I
How?
started. Well, when I would post, like, because I was a Bachelorette guy, I had, you know, all kinds of different political backgrounds, and that was one of my other things. Not just was I getting negative comments directly from followers and losing followers and all of those type of things, but then the views would be, you know, when I learned what shadow banning was, like, I don't know, probably 5-6 years ago. But the views, I would have massive amounts of views when I was posting Bachelorette stuff, or even posting personal stuff that wasn't political or wasn't, you know, faith-based or whatever. And as soon as I post some of those things, your views just get completely throttled down. And I saw that firsthand. And so I would experience the ups and downs, and I'm like, oh, this is not a coincidence. It's not just happens to be, oh, the people that are liking and viewing this are all here. It's they're not even getting access to it.
It's
You know?
algorithmically, it's not even a human, you know, manual intervention. This is the robots dictating who gets to see what.
It's a foundational algorithm that they bake into those platforms. And so, yeah, Facebook and Instagram were the biggest for me. I didn't, have as much of a presence. I wasn't active on Twitter. So I didn't, have it as much there or notice it as much there. But yeah, definitely on Instagram. It throttled it back so hard. So, and still does to this day.
It's wrong. I mean, that's why we do the show.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Like, especially for the people who go out and organically build a very large audience, and now their audience can't see, what they're posting. So I mean, it's like, what is the point? The audience follows you in order to view. So like, you have to do all these workarounds where you're just like, oh, add them as a subscriber or turn this setting off or go. There's a lot of people that'll post like how to go deep into your settings and change this so you can get a guaranteed view of this certain profile. Otherwise, you're gonna get blocked on an algorithm piece.
So, your conservative values and all that, did that become an issue, like historically, the things that you posted a long time ago, or is that more like a real time kind of impact as you went along?
No, I think the first time, and that went into the tabloid level of controversy, was during the Kavanaugh hearings. I posted, something with you would consider it a conservative. It really even wasn't slanted. It wasn't, something that was one way or the other in terms of, I just basically was playing devil's advocate and say, this seems like a hoax. This seems like a goose chase.
Just for our audience, Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice nominee, is that correct?
Yeah, they were going through it was his confirmation hearings. It was all over the mainstream media. I believe, it was a time where he was just getting, they obviously the Democrats didn't want him to get confirmed. And then they start digging back into his skeletons in his closet. And, if you don't know, it was like, oh, he drank a beer. And then there was this allegation of where he was in high school at this party in the Hamptons, et cetera, at his family home. And so that was this big hearing. And obviously you see that at the end of the day, he was confirmed years later. And all I said was like, wow, I don't, this seems out of proportion, or this seems, I think there needs to be more facts here. Something to that nature, and posted that on Twitter. And I mean, it was not even that egregious of a opinion that I said, or that strong of an opinion, but it was something with an air of conservatism to it and support of the conservative movement. And here it goes. I mean, at the time, I was still in that limelight enough that it was enough clickbait for, Us Weekly, People Magazine, all those E-News people to pick it up and run it. Oh yeah, they were covering it. Oh. And so there was a big blogger that follows reality TV, and he kind of made a name for himself. His name was Reality Steve, was his handle. And so he followed all the reality shows, started The Bachelor, and then he started his own podcast. And so he became a voice for those shows. And so if you did something that he thought was controversial, even after a show, which was in my case, he'd grab it, he'd tweet about it, and then that became fodder for those other news outlets to then pick up what he said about it. And that was another moment where I was like, wow, this canceling thing is no joke whatsoever.
I want to get Reality Steve on this show and duke it out with this guy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't like doing that. He likes people to come on his show. He has control of the edit. He doesn't want to, go into a place where it might be fair and balanced.
I think this cancellation is even worse now, because now it's not even what you say. If you like, I think people are tracking likes now, even.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's a scary direction. People think that cancel culture is over, but I think we've only just begun. I think it's going to get even worse.
Yeah, I think the stakes are getting higher, which is interesting. I think that it's been interesting to see the Twitter ownership change was a big moment, and supposedly those algorithms are more open now with changing the X ownership taking over. Meta, I don't believe has changed, but they're going through. There's a lot of hearings now where they're talking about what was the role of these major social media platforms in meddling in political realms, right? Are they meddling in an election? And so I know there's a lot of investigations that have gone into that over the years, and I think that it's coming out. And I feel like there's been a couple of judgments that there was definitely. I mean, we've seen it on mainstream media. We saw it in this last election cycle where it was the 60 Minutes piece was huge, where there was the Kamala Harris interview on 60 Minutes, and they did the edit, and then they did the unedited version, and it was completely two different answers in the middle. I mean, you're weeks before an actual presidential election, and you're meddling and what the answer to a huge um, international relations topic comes up, and you're going to meddle and edit that like it's reality TV, right? I mean, that's 60 Minutes was uh, taking it upon themselves to edit a presidential candidate as if they were on a reality TV show.
Right.
I mean, just unbelievable.
I would imagine on some level you must see this as sort of a blessing. Your journey, your experience is something that not a lot of people will ever get to experience. Would you say?
Yeah, I'm very thankful for the experience. I think that it's leading me to a place of more impact. It's galvanizing my self awareness. It's galvanizing my self worth, so that here in the future, as I look to give back, to grow young leaders and those type of things, I can speak to it from a place of personal experience, and hopefully move the needle for future generations somewhat, and just prepare them for what's coming. There's a lot to come in the future, a lot of threats that will continue down this path, and not just in the cancellation world as we've seen it in mainstream media and social media, but a whole nother. You could have the whole podcast series on where we're going in terms of AI, and how that's going to take us to a whole new level of cancellation, where it'll be canceled before it even exists, right? It's going to be curated and canceled and put back out in a cleaner, sanitized version of messaging by whoever controls it, by whoever's got the most money, whoever is in control of your AI algorithms. And so that's the next level of what we've seen, these large Meta, X, Twitter, all these guys do leading up to this point in the last decade. The next decade is going to be what they'll do in terms of AI control of messaging. And so, look, I'm thankful for the experience that I've had. Now I'm a chairman of two different nonprofits. One's for veterans that have, been injured in combat. We help them heal through music and art programs. That program's been going 11 years. It's called creativevets.org. We're out of Nashville, Tennessee. And then another one, we're doing anti-human trafficking task forces across the country, where we work with law enforcement agencies to help them get the funding that they need to add detectives, to add technology packages, and all these things that they have to combat human trafficking and sexual exploitation on the dark web. And so, I wouldn't be as passionate probably about those two things and having real impact if I didn't go through, what I went through and experience the highs and lows of reality TV and being canceled and what it's like. And I can come at it from a whole different angle and understand real impact, understand the threats that are out there, and the landscape that we're moving into in terms of, social platforms and cancellation across all media platforms.
Why don't you give a plug? Let's just say the names of your nonprofits that you've created.
Yeah, so creativevets.org is my veteran nonprofit in Nashville, Tennessee. We help veterans heal through music and art programs. And then we have operationlightshine.org. And we're also based out of Nashville, Tennessee, but we've got 6 task forces across the eastern seaboard, 2 in Florida. We have one in Virginia, one in Maryland, one in Nashville, Tennessee as well. And we, like I said, fund law enforcement agencies so that they can better fight and allocate resources and training for them to fight the ever-growing, exponentially growing, dare I say, crime that is child sexual exploitation, CSAM material that is growing across the internet, growing across the dark web, and not to mention, in addition to, is the actual human trafficking portion of that, which is the physical trafficking with intent to create child sexual abuse material.
It's beautiful work. You know, your journey is just so unique. Practically nobody is going to have these experiences that you've had. Do you think that were there any mistakes made along the way? What would you have done differently? Would you have not done your music and your reality at the same time? What if you could have a redo? What would you have done differently?
Oh, I would have done a lot of things differently, but nothing differently at the same time. I think everything happens for a reason, and the trials and the highs and lows that I went through, I learned something. But if I was to look for a better experience from the beginning, I would have put my personal life into reality TV. Nothing wrong with reality TV as a whole. I think the better formats are probably like The Amazing Race or Survivor or something that's more competitive and not tied to your personal life. That gets into a really muddy place for you after you do the TV show, as the rest of the world follows you based off of your personal life. And so who you date, who you married, then now it's all clouded because of that experience. So I probably would have picked a different reality TV experience if I had to do it all over again. Yeah, music, great experience for me. Again, the relational personal life reality TV did not mix well with the music that I was doing. Some people it has and does work well for. Chase Rice was a guy that was on Survivor years ago, and then he segued into a big country music career. And then there's obviously reality TV that's tied to music from, the TV shows that are music based, from American Idol and The Voice and those different ones. Nashville Stars, where Miranda Lambert, Chris Young came from. So it's all, there's definitely recipes for success out there. Mine was unique in and of itself, and I don't regret any of it. I know it's all happening for a reason. I know that there's impact to be made in the future, and I'm thankful to be on the other side of it, wiser and more prepared for what's to come. So my wife and I are trying to start our family now. I've got something to give to my kids, a legacy to grow, because the world's just going to get more dangerous, and it's going to get more confusing in the next generation. I know that for a fact, and so I want to be able to prepare that generation for what's to come as much as I can.
You have to talk to the lady who does your hair so that she submits your application for these other shows.
Yeah. We'll have to circle back with Kim, see if she'll submit me to something more fun.
So clearly you've had a lot of time to think about your journey, and it's a really great story. This is really a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on the show, and I hope and pray that the rest of your life is only good at it, Luke. Thank you, Luke.
David. I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you so much.